You are listening to Earn Your Stripes, presented by Cardinal Spirits. Welcome back to another episode of Earn Your Stripes. It's been a while. Hope everybody had a happy, healthy holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm back with my co-host, Max Bielfeldt. As always, it's Tuesday, January 9th. When you're listening to this, and we're joined by a very special guest on this episode, a very timely guest, Andrew Dakich from the Ohio State Buckeyes, the perfect 4-0 Buckeyes in Big Ten play, fresh off a win over Michigan State. We'll get to that interview. I think you'll really enjoy later on in the show. Max, welcome back. How were the holidays for you?
Holidays were great. Went out to Portland, spent time with my family out there. My sister lives out there with some Big Ten fans will know. Myers Leonard is her husband. So he plays for the Portland Trailblazers. Went out there, spent the holidays out there this year. So a little change of pace, but had a great time.
How many voodoo donuts did you eat?
You know, I did not eat one voodoo donuts, but I swear my three sisters and mom were just baking cookies every day. So whatever you see as my height and weight on the stat sheet from when I played at Indiana is not true right now.
Any New Year's resolutions to note?
Nothing, not really. I don't really formally make those. I just try to build better habits every year. So in a very general way.
Well, it's great to be back with you doing this show again. Missed it while we were off. And while we were off, we've added a couple of new sponsors. One of them, we'd like to thank them for jumping on board, is SeatGeek. Buying tickets, Max, to sports and concerts can be complicated and confusing. I'm sure you know that. But there's a better way to buy with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every type of live event. Whether you're searching for a last-minute deal, planning a night out, or need to find the perfect gift, SeatGeek helps you find the best seats at the best prices, fully guaranteed. There's nothing quite like seeing your favorite team or musician in person, and SeatGeek will get you closer to the action for a great value. I have the SeatGeek app on my phone, Max. I actually used it to buy my brother Oklahoma City Thunder against Pacer tickets, and it was really great to use. They have the value meter that lets you know what seat is a great value based on the color. If it's dark green, you're getting a good deal. If it's red, you should probably stay away. So really good, convenient way to buy tickets in the modern era. You just have to click into the app, search for the event that you want, and there you go. And for our listeners, we have a special offer. Our listeners get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app, enter the promo code STRIPES, that's STRIPES, STRIPES, promo code STRIPES for $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Thanks to SeatGeek for jumping on board. We're happy to have them as a sponsor, and hopefully you'll use them next time you need Indiana basketball tickets. All right, so since the last time we recorded, a lot has gone on in terms of Indiana basketball. Recent happenings, Deron Davis, Indiana's star big man, is out indefinitely with an injury, and that didn't hurt Indiana too much, at least so far. The first game without him, they went to Minnesota and upset the Golden Gophers behind great performances from Robert Johnson, Juwan Morgan, and the freshman Justin Smith. They also lost at Wisconsin while we were away, so 1-1 in Big Ten action while we were off the air, and they're 2-2 overall in the Big Ten on the season now, with a game against Penn State coming up at home later on tonight if you're listening to this on Tuesday. Max, what were your biggest takeaways from what you saw from Indiana over the break, and then particularly in those two games against Wisconsin and then against Minnesota?
Well, you were saying the most recent happenings, and obviously makes me think of Ethan Happ, who just absolutely tore up Indiana again, as he always seems to do. Even when I was there, he's definitely one of the hardest players I've ever had to guard. It's not because he's super imposing. It's just because he's fundamental, which bothers me because that's how I normally beat people, is fundamentals. And he's shifty. He's got a really, really quick spin, and he's surprisingly strong, and he's tough to guard on that baseline. He's very different than most people you guard in the NCAA and Big Ten as well. Obviously, the game against Minnesota with Deron and Collin both out. I think it was easily a game they could have lost, but you saw Justin Smith. 20 points. He hasn't had a game like that really all year, but filled the void as he was needed. That's one of the biggest things. When I was a young player playing for Michigan, it was always about next man up. We always said that, next man up. If a guy goes down, who's going to fill the void? And it's sometimes, you have one guy go down, he might feel some pressure, but if you have Collin and Deron both go down, I mean, Justin Smith's going to be playing more than 20 minutes for sure. So he knows he can go in there and get comfortable, and he did. He shot 70% from the field, 2 for 2 from behind the arc. So I think that was a very interesting thing, just because he hasn't really knocked down many threes this year, and that's kind of Indiana's weak suit. So if Justin Smith can get confident from behind the line, add that to his athleticism, I think that's going to be a huge thing for Indiana to get this thing rolling.
Yeah, and we've talked about Justin Smith before on this podcast, and it was more so alluding to why he wasn't having more of an impact than he was. I mean, he was a DNP a couple of times and played very small minutes in a lot of games after he played really well in a non-conference game at Seton Hall earlier in the year. So it was kind of hard to figure out. And I told you at that time that it had a lot to do with him playing out of position. He was trying to adjust to playing a 4 where he's a natural wing. And I think what you saw against Minnesota was he was able to kind of roam around and play more free and play kind of that wing role that he's used to playing. I mean, this is a guy that's a 4-star recruit, highly touted out of the state of Illinois. It's not like it should come as a complete shock that he's performing well, but it was nice to see him kind of get into a role that he feels comfortable in and perform really well in an environment that's not easy to win, Max. As you know, going to Minnesota has always been a challenge for Indiana, and Minnesota came in with a 13-3 record to that game. So that was a really big development, especially coming on the heels of learning that Deron Davis was going to be out for we don't know how long. Dan Dakich had tweeted that he might be out for the year. All we know is it's indefinite, but it's nice to see them kind of rally and perform the way that they did, especially like you mentioned with Smith, a freshman, being so efficient for his 20 points. Morgan doing exactly what he's done, continued to do since we had him on the show, 20 and 12, 4 blocks, just kind of par for the course for him. I mean, it's become routine, and probably even more shocking than Smith's 20 points, I think, was the way Robert Johnson performed across the board. It was really one of the first games I've seen during his 4-year career where he was the featured guy offensively for Indiana. You're running plays for him. He's running around screens. You're trying to get him shots rather than him getting shots off other people's action where he's forced to create his own. So 28, 7, and 7 is nothing to scoff at from Robert Johnson, and a big-time performance from the senior.
Yeah, I mean, and then also, you hear the big three. Obviously, you had Rondo, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett. And then you have LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. And now you have Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant. I mean, the big three is for one thing, but I mean, you had all but 7 points Indiana scored against Minnesota being scored by Morgan, Smith, or Johnson. I mean, that's unheard of. That's a giant three. That's not just a big three. It's the biggest of big. Like, that's unbelievable. And also, I mean, it's interesting talking about Justin Smith popping up. One more thing. He made a huge three there at the end. It kind of given Indiana that final momentum to push them through the finish line. That, if you realize, that's only his 3rd three-pointer made of the year. I mean, it's unbelievable. He went 0 for 1 early, kind of just didn't shoot anymore. Made 1 against Youngstown State. It was 2 for 2 against Minnesota. I mean, he's shot 4 threes all year, and he shot a 3 like that in crunch time. That was really impressive from the freshman.
The box score for that game it's kind of bizarre to look at because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you've watched this team early on in the season and into the early part of the Big Ten. Juwan Morgan deserves a lot of credit because he's been the one rock. You know what you're going to get out of him every night, and he's consistently produced. But outside of that, you really don't know. And to see the minute numbers and to see Devontae Green, a guy I thought was going to have a big role on this team and has at times, he plays 13 minutes. Al Durham, the freshman who was getting more accolades for a while there than Smith and was in the starting lineup, he plays only 22 minutes and doesn't score. Newkirk, a senior guard, plays 16 minutes. McSwain, 16. So the guys that are going over 30 minutes, you have Robert Johnson, Zach McRoberts, Juwan Morgan, and then Smith had 26 minutes. I mean, those are just, even 2 weeks ago, those are not the names probably that you expect to play 30-plus minutes, but, you know, this is an ever-evolving season. It's an ever-evolving team, and Archie's just trying to plug in the right pieces on the right night to make it work, and at least against Minnesota it did. But I think going forward, you're going to need a deeper bench. You're not going to be able to rely on Morgan to play 38, on Robert Johnson to play 38, and win that way. And like you mentioned, I mean, you see 0 from McRoberts, 0 from Newkirk, 0 from Durham, 2 from Green. So those guys accounted for so much of the offense, and it worked on one night, but they're going to need some more help going forward if they're going to sustain these winning ways.
Yeah, no question about it. I think one of our conversation with Jawan Morgan, I don't remember if you remember this, but he said something about how every time they play in practice, it seems that whatever team Zach McRoberts is on is the team that wins. And yeah, he had 0 points, but he played 31 minutes, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and he had 4 steals. And if you remember that big rebound he had late, that was just a hustle rebound that I think it was Dan Dakich actually who was broadcasting, and he was saying how big he is in those hustle plays. He just wanted it more. I mean, it's funny. I'm really curious to see the parallel of how many minutes he plays a game versus how well the team does, because like Andrew Dakich, who we have on the show later, is saying it's a lot of the intangibles and it's a lot of the leadership, and sometimes it's just the heart. So it's funny just to watch that stat line and the more minutes he plays, just to see if he can kind of he's almost like Play-Doh, like jelly. He just kind of, any holes that Indiana has, whether they need a rebounder, score, we've seen him score a pretty good amount this year, or just provide a pesky defender. He's kind of filled those. He's very moldable.
Yeah, most definitely. And like we mentioned after the Notre Dame game, what he does sometimes shows up on the stat sheet, but doesn't always. And I mean, 4 steals against Minnesota in their building is nothing to scoff at. And I think before we move on from that game, the one more thing to mention on Justin Smith is the defense he played against Jordan Murphy, the star forward for Minnesota. He still had a double-double, 18 and 10, but he really had to work for it. 5 for 14 from the field. So for a freshman to have that kind of performance on both ends of the floor in a game that was really important for Indiana, you really can't afford in this league to fall to 1-3 this early. So to get back to 2-2, and it kind of feels like an up and down year, win one, lose one, win one, lose one for Indiana, and it may be that way for a while. But I thought this was a really big one to get to 2-2 rather than going to 1-3, because now you're right in the midst of a lot of teams in that Big Ten. That's fairly wide open, Max.
Yeah, I mean, and looking forward, the students are back. I think one of the most underappreciated things are in Big Ten basketball, we'll say, but all over the country, is a lot of these games, they start up in their home games, but the students aren't back. And I'm telling you, it's such a big difference. Last year, Indiana lost to Nebraska early at home while they were still perceived to be a very, very good team. And, the students weren't there. It's just the energy. But once the students get there, it kind of really changes the dynamic of a home environment. So now the students are back, and you have a Northwestern team coming in who's very beatable, and a Penn State team that's been up and down this year. That's, always a game that Indiana has some fun with, when going into about, what was it? It was 2 overtimes the first time, and I think 2 or 3 the second time. So that should be a fun one as well. They're always fun to play against. But 2 very winnable games at home in Assembly Hall could easily put Indiana to 4-2. Completely change the season going forward, going to Michigan State.
Yeah, I think, Max, this is a really important stretch, and I think it started with the Minnesota game. For Indiana, the Penn State, Northwestern at home, like you mentioned, both very winnable. Indiana has to be able to get at least one out of those 2, preferably both. I think they can win both of those games. And then they're going to Michigan State. Nobody expects them to win that, but after that, they come home to play Maryland, who's really kind of been up and down, and then they go to Illinois, who's really struggled. So that stretch of games between now and January 24th, I think, is really important, because Indiana theoretically could win 4 out of those 5 games. I think they need to win at least 3 out of those 5 games, and that would put them in a decent spot going forward to make the tournament and things like that. But if they struggle in those games or lose some close ones, and you're looking at games like Purdue, at Ohio State, Michigan State at home, the season could really get away from you at that point in the schedule. So these next few weeks are really important for Indiana, and it'll be interesting to see if they can sustain what they built in Minnesota, and if guys like Morgan and Johnson, who have played some really heavy minutes so far this season, can continue to perform and not have fatigue become a factor for these guys. Max, we get into, with Andrew Dakich later on in the show, the Big Ten at large, and just kind of how wide open it is. Obviously, Ohio State knocked off number 1 Michigan State, so they're not unbeaten anymore in the conference. It's Ohio State and Purdue at the top, 4-0 each. What are your thoughts on the conference play so far, and what game from the Big Ten are you looking forward to seeing this week?
I think the game I'm looking forward to most this week. I mean, Michigan has a tough week. First off, they have Michigan State and Purdue back-to-back games. So, I mean, those are both going to be pretty tough for Michigan. It's a team that's finding its stride, though. Michigan's on a little bit of a win streak, 3-1 in conference. The only game they've lost actually is at Ohio State, who we talked to Andrew later, and he talks a little bit about that. But Purdue comes to Michigan tomorrow, or excuse me, you're going to be listening to this on Tuesday, so tonight. And Purdue's favored by 2, and that should be a heck of a ball game. So that's probably my game of the week. The Big Ten, I think it's going to be very telling to see what the Big Ten has to offer, with Purdue jumping up to number 5 in the AP polls and Michigan trying to find its stride.
Yeah, I'm going to jump all the way till Saturday for my Big Ten game of the week, and that's the rivalry game between Michigan and Michigan State. It's a noon tip-off on Fox. It's at Michigan State, a team that will have played before then. They play Rutgers at home on Wednesday, but coming off that Ohio State loss, I think they'll be highly motivated this week with 2 games at home, especially against a team like Michigan that's a rival, but has proven to be a capable team at times this year. So that should be a fun game early on Saturday afternoon before any NFL playoffs start. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to watch that. Noon on Saturday, Michigan at Michigan State is my game of the week.
I'd like to thank our friends over at 10th and College Apartments in Bloomington, Indiana. Beautiful luxury student living apartment located on 10th and College, as you may have guessed. I lived there my last year playing at Indiana. Wouldn't have lived anywhere else, honestly, because I had such a great time. Very accommodating front desk, anything you need. Your mail's right there, pool's right out back. You got a nice little game area, pool table, all sorts of stuff you can do to hang out with friends in a loungy area. 10th and College does a great job of taking care of everything you need. Great, spacious apartment complex with nice big living rooms and big bedrooms, something you don't see too much at a college apartment complex. So go ahead and check out 10th and College, located on 10th and College Avenue in Bloomington, Indiana.
Perfect time, whether you're a current student and upcoming student, to sign that lease. Make sure you're locked in for next year so you don't have to worry about it through this spring semester. Just get it taken care of now. Sign with the best apartment complex in Bloomington, 10th and College. Happy to have them on board as a sponsor again in 2018.
So Ohio State's coming off a blowout win over number 1 Michigan State on Sunday. They're tied for first in the Big Ten. And Tom Crean has even said on ESPN how big of an ad he is for the leadership of his team. Here he is, the great Andrew Dakich. How you feeling today, Andrew?
I'm feeling a little better than I did yesterday morning, that's for sure, and probably yesterday night. Letting it sink in. Because obviously we were on cloud 9 last night, but really let it sink in, and just see all the love from fans, from family members, pictures even. Like, you get pictures from, like, reactions to the game. It's pretty cool. It's really cool. You don't get – I think we only played the number 1 team in the country once before, and that was Arizona my freshman year, junior year, redshirt sophomore year. Did you ever play number 1 ranked team on your court at IU?
No. We had Iowa was like number 3 or 4 when I was at IU. But before you got there at Michigan, Michigan and Indiana were both 1 and 2, and we were there. But
oh, that's right. Yeah,
Zona came in; they were top 5. I don't know if we played any number 1s though.
Yeah. But it was just incredible, just to have that opportunity. Because I only remember the Arizona game for my freshman year. So it was an electric atmosphere. They said it was the loudest it's been since the Evan Turner days. So that was something special there as well.
Wow. Who would have guessed that Andrew Dakich would bring back Ohio State basketball?
Yeah, who would have put Evan Turner and Andrew Dakich in the same sentence? I'm not really sure.
Oh, my God. Hey, I got to address your demeanor that game against Michigan State. Like, you looked like a man on a mission. Like, how would you describe your mindset going into it? It didn't seem like, you didn't skip a beat. It seems like you still hated Michigan State as a Michigan man would.
Yeah, honestly, that game was more, you're right. I was way more into it than I would say the Michigan game, just because, I'm boys with all those guys at Michigan. The Michigan State game, I still have. I have a lot of respect for them, but it's just it's like the top dog, and you always want to take them down. And we always had heated battles with them. They stepped on our throat a few times, and I thought of that more of a rivalry than the the Michigan game, if you believe it or not. So, but yeah, like you said, I mean, I was feeling a little under the weather, to be honest with you. In the beginning, my heart was just pounding. I don't know. I wasn't even nervous. I thought I wasn't nervous at least, but I had to take some medication to slow my heart down a little bit. So it was, but it was fun. Once you got in the game,
hang on. Did you say you had to take medication to slow your heart down, or you were sick?
No, I wasn't sick. Like my heart, like my pulse, it was just beating so fast. I'm like, I really wasn't though. That's the thing. Like I wasn't even thinking about the game. Like it started the night before. I thought like I would tell you if I was nervous, but I mean, obviously the first time you get out there during the game, like you run up and down, then now you're like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. Dakiches don't get nervous.
Dakiches just sack up. That's what we do.
I'll tell you, Andrew, as a guy who may or may not have had money on Michigan State in that game, when I saw you banking the 3 at the buzzer before halftime, I pretty much knew what the end result was going to be. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I said it probably didn't help. Actually, that's funny you said that. Some of my friends may or may not have bet on the Michigan State line, so it was funny. They were giving me some crap about it after the game. I'm glad they didn't tell me before the game. It's funny to hear about it afterwards. So,
but what's the just the whole preparation process like for a team like that? I mean, I know it's early in the season, but they seem like a team that's pretty loaded and pretty deep at every position, and they have a good mix of youth and veteran leadership. I mean, it's got to be a pretty daunting task when you see them on the scouting report. So how are you guys able to approach that, kind of take it one step at a time, and then you're able to blow it wide open in the second half?
No, you're absolutely right, because they have so mane weapons on that team, and they're ranked number 1 for a reason, you know. And we actually only had a one-day prep because we played on Sunday. We played on Thursday and Friday, or was it Thursday or Friday? But we only had one day of prep. So, you know, we talked about Nick Ward has been a man amongst boys, averaging like 15 and 8 and probably the most efficient basketball player in the country. And obviously he's the top rebounder per 40 minutes in the country, offensive rebounder. So our emphasis was doubling him in the post. And I think he only had one shot attempt all game, which was huge for us. And obviously, I mean, like any game, like their guys just missed shots. I think we played pretty good defense. I mean, I think we lost them a few times, but for the most part, I thought we took away Miles Bridges. The guy who kind of stood out for them was Langford, Josh Langford. I thought he has really. I think he's a huge X factor for them. He's kind of got to be their guy if Miles is not going. But they just have so many weapons. You know, coming in, they play like 10 guys, and we were fortunate enough to hold their bench to like 2 or 4 points, which was critical as well.
Yeah, I thought Jayshawn Tate did a great job on Bridges. I mean, I'm sure you agree with that. It just seemed like he's guarded him probably the best he's been guarded all year.
Yeah, absolutely. I know last year Miles Bridges had 2 big games against him at Ohio State and at Michigan State. So it was kind of a personal. You know, he's a senior. I mean, that's what's great about this. Like, we got seniors, we got veteran guys on our team. Arcata, who's been limited in his 4 years due to injury, is playing at an all-American level right now. And Jayshawn Tate has been a well-known scorer in the league, and just kind of take that matchup personally was critical for us. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird to, you know, you're so close with all these guys, and, you know, it seems like just yesterday you were on Michigan. I mean, right. So get this. So Big Ten Network puts up an Instagram video of all you guys singing the alma mater with the fans on the court at the end of the game. So as soon as the camera goes on you, you were saying something to your teammates. So that begs the question, do you know the words to the OSU alma mater yet?
Well, first off, no one on our team knows the words. That's a new tradition that Coach Holtman brought. And I'm not kidding you. There's a screen right in front of us that says all the words on them. So that's what we're singing. I'm glad that's funny you said that, because that is true. I don't know the words at all. But I can speak for most of our team that they don't know any of the words at all either. So
you did the smart thing though. As soon as you saw the camera go on you, you're like, "Hey, buddy, I got to tell you something funny," and then it went off, and you're like, "Okay, we're back." Yeah,
I didn't need any backlash from more Michigan fans than I already got. So
Yeah,
That's funny.
along those same lines, Andrew, I mean, I think we have to ask the question just what it's been like. It's one thing for Max to go from Michigan to Indiana within the Big Ten, but not really big time rivals. But to go from Michigan to Ohio State, what's that transition been like for you? I mean, what was it like in the off season, and what's it been like so far during the season, as far as like you mentioned, backlash from Michigan fans or being welcomed by the Ohio State fans?
Yeah, I think Ohio State fans were like, why are we letting this white walk-on come who played like barely any minutes at Michigan on full ride scholarship here? They're like, they must be very desperate to take this guy, which I completely understand and probably would say the same thing if I wasn't myself. But you know, the transition has been fairly easy. I actually wore a blue Lululemon shirt the first day I got there. And walk-on Joey Lane said, no, I'm going to give you a red shirt, Ohio State shirt. So that was my welcome to Ohio State. Like literally the first time I stepped on campus after I already committed. But you know, it's been actually fairly easy. The guys always talk to me about, you know, the Michigan days, like, but they also respect the heck of what we accomplished at Michigan when Max was there. I'm sure Max had the same, intention at Indiana, where people were just like, hey, what was it like, and things like that. So it's been really cool in them, because I have some credibility because I came from a winning culture, and that's what they're trying to get back. And I think Coach Holtman was recruiting me initially to go to Butler, and that's in my backyard. It's like 10 minutes away from where I live, and that's where I wanted to go. But when this freshman Aaron Thompson, who starts for them now, you're obviously going to take a freshman over a fifth-year guy because he just got 4 years left. But, Max, did you pull a fire alarm? What's going on back there?
Fire trucks going by the office. That was pretty unintentional.
I didn't know if you pulled it. But, no, it's been easy. And, obviously, winning cures everything. So, if you're winning, everyone's going to be very, very nice to you.
Don't worry. Here comes the ambulance, too.
Yeah, they're coming for you. They know something's up. I'm not surprised.
The hottest podcast in the Midwest right here. Burning down.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, no, that's funny. When you're talking about the clothes, like, so I'm packing up to go to Bloomington, and, you know, you get so much stuff from Adidas, and it's just all whatever. It's, you know, it's Michigan this, Michigan that, blue this, whatever. And I'm like, well, you know, you start to realize how much of your closet is taken up by that. I'm like, wow, when it comes to like athletic gear, I'm pretty slim pickings. I better get a good amount of stuff when I get there.
Yeah.
I did get I brought some blue sweatpants, just some blue like just no M on it or anything. And I wore those into treatment, and I got so much crap for it from everybody. I was like, are you wearing your Michigan pants? Guys, they're literally blue Adidas sweatpants. They give me anything. And they're ready to jump.
That's what I'm saying. It's unbelievable. Like I just wore a blue hoodie to our pregame meal yesterday, and they're like, "What are you doing?" Like our nutrition lady's like, "What are you doing wearing that blue?" I'm like, it's a color. There's only so many colors you can choose from. All my other red hoodies are in the laundry right now. Like, so it is funny how much your wardrobe does change. Right?
Yeah, blue is like the most basic color to wear. I mean, it's tough.
Right. And it's my best looking color.
Yeah, well, debatable. When I was at Michigan, you remember Beeline had the rule: you can't wear red and you can't wear green, right?
Oh yeah. Some people had to run for that stuff, didn't they?
Oh well, I did my freshman year. I
thought you did. I thought I was about to ask. Yeah, that's right, Camp Sanderson.
No, it was my freshman year before you got there. I had all of my clothes I brought. I had like literally one red shirt and one red pair of shorts, right? And that was it. My entire closet. And I didn't wear any of it. But then, you know, summer's going by and I hadn't got much laundry done. I literally opened my drawer to go to study hall, and I see all I have is one pair of red shorts and a red shirt. So I was like, oh man, if I'm going to go for it, I got to go for it right, because that's all I had clean.
Right. Yeah.
And I wore it to study hall. I'm like, all right, I'll be good by study hall. You know, I won't wear it to the gym. And I swear to God, in my 4 years at Michigan, John Beeline set foot in the academic center one time, and that was the day. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. He walked in there and was asking where Trey Burke was. And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, what the hell are you wearing? And I'm like, oh, God. Like, you weren't supposed to be here.
Oh. Right. I didn't intend it. That's so funny. That's it. It was just destined to happen, though, for you. What are the
100%.
odds of that actually happening? Because you're right. I never saw him there one time in my 4 years.
Yeah.
So for him, what is he in his like 10th or 11th year at Michigan? That may be his only time there.
That's
so
six.
funny,
That's 6 years combined because you and I played together for a couple. So that's 6
right.
years. That's wild.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Quick break to mention our friends at Cardinal Spirits. Cardinal Spirits is the presenting sponsor of Earn Your Candy Stripes. They have simple cocktails that only require 2 ingredients. You can make them during immediate timeout. You don't even need a recipe. Cardinal Spirits are so flavorful and high quality, you don't want to hide them or cover them up. For day games, Bramble Screwdriver with Bramble Black Raspberry Vodka and Orange Juice, or a hot hopscotch with Songbird Coffee Liquor and hot coffee. For night games, you might consider Lake House Spiced Rum and Coke, or you could mix it up and go with apple cider with that Lake House Spiced Rum. I've tried it myself. It's delicious. They've got tiki rum, anything you could imagine. Really great quality spirits there at Cardinal Spirits. You don't want to be the guy who pulls out a cocktail shaker during a game and misses part of it because you're in the kitchen too long. Just keep it simple and classy. To see a full list of products online, visit cardinalspirits.com. Again, Cardinal Spirits, the presenting sponsor of Earn Your Candy Stripes, again in 2018. What's been the most difficult part, Andrew, do you think, fitting into what Ohio State already had? And obviously they were going through a coaching transition, so not a lot was cemented in place, but there was a lot of guys that were coming back and had established roles, and you're coming over from Michigan. What was the hardest part about adjusting to this team, and where do you feel like your role has really grown, and where you feel comfortable now that the Big Ten season is well underway?
Yeah, I think just those open gyms where I got kind of connected with them and just proving that I could play, because they probably didn't know that, I can play with you guys and stuff like that, because they never really saw, like they weren't there for practices, because that's really all. Because I had to send out a highlight video of literally practice clips to a billion different coaches. Just,
you had me retweet it.
Yeah, I try to have everyone that had followers just to retweet it, just to see if someone will budge. And so that was like the first thing. And then it just kind of went from there. I just started blending in and I kind of just showing the work ethic and trying to get in to the gym with other guys, and maybe once or twice a week with someone different was huge, because I know this is my last year and I want it to be the best year that I've ever had playing the game of basketball. So it was definitely an adjustment, but it was an adjustment for everyone, because nobody really knew. They had like 5 guys or 6 guys healthy or like on the team in summer workouts, and that's unheard of. Like, they couldn't even play full court 5-on-5. Like that just doesn't really happen in college basketball, because the transition from a coaching change was so late in the process, in mid-June. So it was an adjustment for everyone. But obviously it was adjusted for me as well, because I didn't get there until August. But everyone's been great, and it just keeps getting better. Like I said, winning helps with all of that. So
yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's crazy, because you were going to go to Quinnipiac, and you were actually there.
No. I was at Quinnipiac. Oh yeah.
Well, you were going to play a season at Quinnipiac. You were already there. You were enrolled, but you figured out that you had a little offer to Ohio State. And I remember you called me up and you're like, "Hey Max, so this isn't public yet, but I think I have an offer to Ohio State." And I'm like, "Oh, he's at Quinnipiac. I'll maybe see him once this year. Probably won't visit him because he's in the middle of nowhere, East Coast." And you're like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, that seems like a no-brainer. No-brainer.
Yeah, right.
Now you guys are on top of the Big Ten. You should be ranked in the top 25, but that'll come.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I was there, and I liked it. I liked the guys there, and I was there for 5 weeks. But the whole thing was I was in a direct admit into their grad program, so it kind of allowed me to be a free agent. And being close to home is always great. My family comes to the majority of my games, if not all of my games this year. So that was huge for me to have that 5th year. And I love that you got Quinnipiac right, how you said it, because I think you may be one of my only friends that can actually pronounce it right on the spot. So I appreciate getting my old school right.
You just stuttered there.
I did stutter there. I was like, wait, is that right? But yeah, no, it's
he can
it's
pronounce
a little
it,
different than Quinnipiac.
I'm not sure he can. I'm not sure he can spell it. Looking at our script
That's
here,
very true.
but he can say it. He can pronounce it.
N.
Keep going.
APEAC.
No.
IPAC.
There's a lot of I's in there.
Yeah, I knew there's
like
another I in there.
4 I's. Yeah.
No, whatever. No one cares. Oh man.
No, I do. No, they're going to be great. It's Mike Dunleavy's brother, who played at Duke, and it's his first year there. He's the head assistant at Villanova.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I keep tabs on all their games, and they're doing fairly well right now. So I still try to keep in touch with some of those guys.
You can probably spell it then.
Yes, I can spell it.
Can you? Yeah, go ahead.
Capital QUIN.
Capital Q. I like that.
NNIPIAC.
PIAC. I knew that. Yeah. All right. I'll give it to you. We'll fact check that later.
Yeah, you may have to fact check that. I sounded pretty confident, but I'm not necessarily sure. So.
Hey, it's like your dad, Dan. I mean, as long as you sound confident, it doesn't matter what you say.
That's very true. That is very true. Wise words from Dan Dakich. There you go.
No kidding. Dude, so all right. So what do you think most valuable thing that you bring to Ohio State this year? Because like you're saying, all these guys are like, this little white guy was a walk-on at Michigan. We're giving him a scholarship. So what do you think? I thought it was leadership, but then you knock down that 40-foot 3-pointer, and I'm like, I get out of my chair, jump out of my chair, yell, "Ooh, that's money!" I knew it was good as soon as it left your hands. Like, did you, or was that just me?
I thought it was good, but I didn't think I banked it. Honestly, I didn't call it bank. I thought it was all net, but I'll take it.
That was the extra heart rate. The meds hadn't kicked in yet.
Yes, exactly. You're right. Or the extra lifting I'm doing. But no, it was besides the leadership factor, I think I just bring a guy that tries to put people in the right position out on the court. Like, all right, it's pretty easy. Who's our best player? Keita Bates-Diaz. All right, get him the ball. Get the heck out the way. There's a lot of space. Give him a lot of space to create. Jay Sean Tate. So my role has been, obviously knock down shots when the time is right, but also put guys in position to make plays. And I think we have a lot of weapons on our team that have been doing an excellent job thus far. I mean, it's still early, but this far it's been very pleasing to play, and it's very easy to play with this group of guys who are selfless like these guys. So
I think one of the really interesting things about you, Andrew, and I think people can hear it just listening to the way you answer these questions, is the way that you think the game and the way that you break it down even while you're still playing. I mean, you're breaking down Michigan State's who's going to have to step up if Miles Bridges isn't playing well, and that's just something you don't normally hear from a college player. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, and I know you go on your dad's show from time to time and talk Big Ten hoops, but to hear your thoughts about the Big Ten as a whole, what you specifically, since this is kind of an Indiana branded podcast, what you've thought of Indiana so far, and what you kind of think of the whole makeup of the Big Ten this year.
Yeah, that's a good question. I did actually talk to my dad about this a little bit. The Big Ten, like people say it's down. Well, it's down certainly due to some injuries and obviously the Minnesota situation that's going on there. But I still think it's just so competitive where you can be beaten on any given night. And I know that's redundant in years past, like wherever you go, like Rutgers upset Wisconsin when they went to the Final Four a few years back. But, I mean, if you look, like Rutgers beat a really good Seton Hall team who's ranked in the top 12 and beat Wisconsin. Okay, Wisconsin beats Penn State, who everyone thought that this would be the kind of the year that they make it to the NCAA tournament. So I just think like it's so. I think it's actually the whole college basketball where top teams are getting beat every single week. I think the top 4 teams, out of the top 5 teams, 4 of them got beat or something this past week, and that's like redundant from the week before. But going along the lines, obviously, Indiana is something I pay attention to. Obviously losing Deron Davis Hurts, and they've had some great games where they've been in. Obviously, you can't lose to mid majors, especially from your state. But we played. For instance, I'm sorry if I'm going on a tangent right now.
No, go ahead.
But we played Miami, Ohio. Okay, and that was the only team we played from the state of Ohio. What do you think their mindset is like when they play us? Like that's their championship. Like they want your spot so bad. So, and guess what? It was a 5-point game, and we finally got to blow it out to 13. And that was it. Like that was one of our toughest games at home. So, like when you play Indiana State and the IPFW, you got to be ready like you're playing Michigan State, because I'm telling you, you have to match their level of intensity just because that they're going to bring it, because this is like their marquee game, the one they circle in July. You think Indiana's circling that game in July? No, they're circling the game against Duke. And guess what? They were in the game against Duke and could have won that game.
Should have won.
So, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's got to be Indiana mindset every game. And obviously, I think they're just missing another kind of like a key scorer. I think Juwan Morgan has been very impressive this year and has taken a role that probably most people did not expect. But now they just got to look for other guys and not turn the ball over as much, because I know that's been a point of emphasis all year long.
Yeah, they've gotten better with that too. I mean, it's interesting because
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously that's one of the things. Archie Miller comes in and he's trying to, cut that out, because 20 turnovers a game isn't going to win you many games. But no, first thing to your point about the Big Ten being down, I think it's interesting. People were kind of saying that in the football season as well. And they're, the bowl games, they go 6-1 in the bowl games. I think it's all about how you
7-1. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, 7, excuse me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's all about how you develop. And I think, like, even you guys, you have a couple bad losses early, but all it takes is you finish on the top half of the Big Ten and you show that you've grown as a team. I mean, that's all it takes to get in there and make a run in March.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I think, back to your point, like, when you see, even Nebraska had Kansas beat. Like, all these teams are in these games. It's not like they're losing bad. Not necessarily. I mean, some people have slipped up. But, no, you're right. I think it's very balanced where teams, like, I just think college basketball this year, it's so up and down. It's so inconsistent, which is going to make another great March where where your bracket is just going to be so screwed up because there's going to be a lot of upsets. But you know what I mean? So
yeah, definitely.
It's very interesting to see these teams. Like Duke loses to Boston College. When's the last time Duke has ever lost to Boston College? One of the top lowest teams in the
when was the last time Boston
ACC?
College beat an AP 25 team?
Exactly. So, and NC State goes and beats Duke. Like, that's why I think my dad always says it, like, college basketball produces every single night. And I think that's so true, especially this year.
It's constant entertainment.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You mentioned your dad, Andrew, and I'm sure this is a question that you get quite often, but just how would you sum up and describe what it's like to be Dan Dakich's son?
Besides the fact you have to deal with him.
Yeah, besides that part, he's just like any other father. Like, he roots like heck for me, and he tells me when I'm in the wrong or things like that, just silly stuff. But he's great. He stays out of it. He's not a guy that says, "Oh, you should be like a lot of dads in college basketball, or a lot of family members say, "Oh, you should be playing more." Like, what do you like? Go talk to your coach. No, he stays out of that because he was a coach and he understands it, and he stays. That's like what I appreciate the most. Like, he doesn't get involved. Never got involved with Coach Beeline. He's never talked to Coach Holtman about me playing or me not playing. So that's one thing that I can really respect. And he's just a great dude he's one of my best friends where I can talk to him about anything. So I appreciate the relationship I have with him, even though he's very controversial on Twitter and on the radio. So
now I will say, while he wasn't, berating your coach about playing time and everything, he was the first one on the Ohio State bandwagon that's getting fuller and fuller now. He was preaching you guys all year. I don't know if that's because he's a good analyst or if he had a slight bias, but he was on that train pretty early, watching out for Ohio State.
I mean, why shouldn't he? His son's on the team. When there's a Dakich on the team, there should be a chance. Gosh dang it. No, but I mean, he's seen us play, and I told him, the likes of Cater Bates Diop, because nobody really had him having this kind of year. And obviously there is a little bias because I'm obviously on the team, but I mean, he likes us. He thinks we got a good chance to make the NCAA tournament, possibly make a nice run, which is, I mean, obviously what I want to do in my last year, and what Jay Sean Tate, Cater Bates Diop, and Cam Williams want to do in their final year as well.
It's fun. I suggest you do it.
Trust me, I'm dying to do it. You got 14 more games in the Big Ten, though, so it's a long season, as you know.
I know you're focused on this year and finishing your college basketball career strong, Andrew, but I mentioned how you clearly think the game and you think it at a high level. Your dad was a coach, now he's an analyst. What do you view as kind of your post-basketball profession? Do you want to go into coaching? Do you want to be a broadcaster? Do you view it something like what Mark Titus did after he left Ohio State and kind of turned it into some version of being a media member without being a broadcaster? What do you want to do post-basketball?
Right, that's a good question. Well, the goal would be, if you ever seen Entourage, be like that guy. So move out to L.A. and just have the time of my life with my buddies. But if that doesn't happen, I would definitely want to get into possibly coaching. I can't tell. Like, you got to go to coach high school kids' houses and, state your case on why they should go to your school. That's kind of tough if you think about it. You got to tell a 16 or 17-year-old who's just kind of figuring out life, really, to come to your school year in and year out. It just that's just kind of I don't know if I'd be great at that. I don't know. I think that'd just be difficult. And coaching is something I'm passionate. I felt myself, last year, obviously, because I redshirted, just kind of talking to the young guys, talking to Derek and Zach, and trying to coach them up a little bit as what I see out there. And they've listened. So, I mean, that obviously gives me a great joy and kind of possibly a hope to get into coaching. But, it's going to be a decision I have to make after this year. I still have to do another year here, graduate school, because I'm in a 2-year program. Well, yeah, I think I could possibly get into it, but I don't want to fully commit to that, if that makes any sense.
If you're Vince from Entourage, where does Max fit in? Turtle?
Max is definitely Turtle.
No.
Max is the driver. No, actually, yeah, Max is Turtle. Yeah.
All right, I'll take it. All right, so I know you got class in a little bit, which I'm surprised you're actually going to class that's different from you at Michigan. But no, I'm joking.
They go to class at Ohio State? I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently, man. Hey, I'm trying to show my face right now. The campus is popping. We just beat the number one team in the country. Thing. Let's go.
That's a damn
I know it is.
Sure.
I know it is. I took it right from him.
All right. I got a couple quick hitters, and then we'll wrap this up. So you, Spike, and I have the unique experience about going back and playing the former team in Ann Arbor. So talk about what that was like, because, all right, I had a couple different experiences. The first time, I was dapping you up. Hey, Doc, what's up, guys? How's it going? Everyone from the usher to the coaches. Hey, it was great. Second time, he had told you guys you're not allowed to, even see that I'm there. So how was it going back? Hit on that real quick.
Well, no, they came here, remember? So I haven't gone there yet. I go there on their senior night.
Oh, shoot, that's true.
But yeah, so that'll be interesting. But I mean, it's the same thing. Like they like in their routine and their layup lines and what they do to get ready. I mean, they're all just they're not even saying what's up. They're just telling me, "Oh, you're ugly." Like I'm gonna kick your butt tonight. Obviously, I'm giving you the PG
not
version.
Much has changed.
No, nothing really has changed.
Yeah,
but they didn't dap me up.
Practice. Ooh.
Yeah, they didn't dap me up or anything like that. So
does that mean I was more liked?
Telling me, no, I think you just set the bar where you came in and you guys kicked the living behinds out of us, and we're like, we're never dapping anyone up again. Like Spike's the whole Spike thing. So it's funny. It's all funny. I just can't believe that you were the starter of this trend where 3 kids from Michigan end up at a Big Ten school. Because I don't think that's ever been
And you're
done
forgetting
before.
part B. 3 kids from Michigan go to a Big Ten school and then win the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, I got
3 years
to
in a
get
row.
on your guys' level. I know.
I was
Hey,
like,
no. It's 2 years. It's 2 years in a row. Relax.
I know. I'm
It's not
saying it's going to be
yet.
3. It's going to be 3.
Okay.
And then I
Got a
noticed.
little LeVar Ball here.
Yeah, no kidding. I noticed
Speaking into existence.
Mark
Go
Donnell.
ahead.
He's in first place at Clemson in the ACC.
That's right. Yeah.
So maybe we can
you're
get
absolutely
this
right.
streak moving across conference.
And-
I don't know if that's a thing, but
Hey, if I'm a coach out there, I'm taking anyone that's transferring from Michigan right away. It can be the
No-brainer.
ball boy, it can be the manager. I'm taking him, and we're winning a championship in whatever conference we're in.
all right. Last question.
So,
Favorite Michigan
yeah.
memory? What you miss most about Ann Arbor, and then the best part about Ohio State.
Ooh, favorite memory? Man, a lot of good ones. If I could be specific, that Big Ten championship last year was really, really cool. Just obviously with the dramatic things that happened, and just being with those guys and just, what's great about that is missing class on all those days, just kind of kicking with your buddies in hotel rooms and just kind of having that last feel. Cause it's, it's your, last go around. So being so with all those guys, I mean, it was just a great year with, I was fortunate enough to have, Zach, Derek, Sean and Mark and Duncan who lived with us. Just hanging out every night with them was really cool. I really missed that.
So then what's the best part about Ohio State?
Best part about Ohio State is my class schedule. See, I don't go out at all. Yeah, and my class schedule is crazy nice. So that's a highlight. Like I don't get out much. Like I just hibernate in my room, man. I don't do much around here. Like this campus is so big. Like you gotta drive everywhere. Like it's in the city. So, but it's a beautiful campus, obviously, but it's just so spread out, honestly.
Yeah.
So,
well, like you said, now's the time to go show your face. So if you want me to come over, I can drive you around and we can work something out.
yeah, exactly. You know what the problem like with me is I blend in. Like I'm not taller than the guy next to me. You're 6'8" with the biggest calves in the world. You kind of stick out a little bit after you get a big dub in Indiana. So I don't got that working for me.
All right, hey Doc, I'll let you get to class, man. Appreciate you joining us today.
Hey, appreciate you guys having me. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.
Thanks again to Andrew Dakich for joining the show. Really fun conversation with him. Enjoyed having him on. Appreciate his insight and analysis into the Big Ten. And I don't think there's any doubt that if he wants to be involved in basketball as a coach, as a broadcaster, whatever he wants to do post playing days, he can do, because I think he's talented and he sees the game in a unique way. So thanks again to him for joining. Thank you for listening. Before we go, I want to let you know about one of our new friends, a new sponsor, the father of a former IU graduate manager, Tim Dather, who is now on the staff with the Indiana Pacers. Kelly Dather, Talk to Tucker real estate agent. The Kelly Dather real estate team at FC Tucker is Hamilton County's premier real estate team. They understand the complexity of the market and how daunting the task of successfully marketing real estate can be. The number one priority for the Kelly Dather real estate group at FC Tucker is they understand your real estate needs are about you, and they prove it every day. They take great pride in bringing a level of professionalism to the real estate market that has proven time and time again to accomplish the sellers' and buyers' goals. Make the call, discover the difference, and experience a real estate team that really does make it all about you. Call the Kelly Real Estate Team at FC Tucker today at 317-496-9308 or visit kellydather.com. Thanks to Kelly Dather and his real estate team for climbing on board as a sponsor of the podcast. We really appreciate it and look forward to doing business with you going forward. Make sure you give him a call or visit his website, kellydather.com. That's all for today's episode of Earn Your Stripes. We'll be back Thursday with a special guest, a former Indiana basketball player who's now playing and making waves in the NBA. I'll leave that up a little bit in the air and not give it away before we record, but should be an interesting episode on Thursday, and we have a lot of great guests, former Indiana players, coming up in the weeks and months to come. So I hope you'll stay with us. Subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, wherever you may get your podcasts, and support the show. If you like it, let us know about it. You can email me, jmalbers@indiana.edu. Send your listener questions to us on Twitter, email, however you want to reach us, and we will answer them this week on Thursday's show. So go ahead and send those questions to us now. We've already received a few, and we'll get to those. But if you have any questions you want Max and I to answer on the show, make sure you send those our way. For Max Bielfeldt, I'm Justin Albers. Thanks for listening to another episode of Earn Your Stripes. We'll see you on Thursday.
Save me the time.